Good evening, all. Thank you for the presentation. My questions don't directly address what has been presented. I am part of a group called FDEM for demolition. But we're in the process of learning, just like everyone else here. So I have some questions. Most likely the mayor is going to want to address them. A while ago, I had the privilege of being part of a committee in the western section that did a lot of study on St. Paul's. So some of my questions are informed by that experience in which I was a co-member with our now mayor. I'm sorry, unfortunately, there's short notice for this in terms of the other members of the group, so we could have said more if we had a little more time. Hopefully the next meeting there'll be a little more notice. That being said, I have a couple of questions. One is the definition that we're using for the word demolition. It seems as if the referendum is going to be two choices and the whole building or demolish. So I take it that the idea or concept of a partial demolition, which was discussed, Mr. Mayor, at a meeting that we had quite a while ago. So if that's not part of what you're going to be doing, my question is maybe my group is going to consider what that means and if we should address it ourselves. So that's my first part of my question, if you can please respond.
Steve, if I understand your question correctly, you're talking about the types of demolition that would be reviewed or analyzed, or?
Okay, let me make it a little more clear.
Right.
We went to a presentation, which I remember, you may remember, a while back when we were in the Western Section group, okay? A former trustee threw out the idea of preserving a portion of the building and demolishing a portion.
Right.
Is that something that your committee is open to, considering, not considering? Just so
we're open. Right now, we're open to all kinds of solutions to the problem. Right. We're not just focused on adaptive reuse. We're also going to be looking at types of demolition, as was discussed before. How do you take down a building of this size, of this strength, the way you've described how strong this building is, and the history of this building, right? There's a real polemic here that has to be addressed, Steve, and that is, what do the residents want? Do they want to tear down this building and essentially remove the fabric of our community, right? This building was built for A.T. Stewart. So there are a lot of things we would have to discuss. Demolition can come in different forms, right? There's also a concept, I don't know if people understand this, is the concept of facadism. If you look it up, is not really a solution to a problem. It really is a solution where you keep a portion of the facade and you build a newer structure behind that facade, right? That's another concept. So there are multiple concepts that we would have to investigate to see what is the most appropriate for the village. Okay,
because I'm thinking in terms of, I think the suggestion from the former board member was to knock out the west wing. It would afford for more parking. Right. They'd be and less costly in terms of a build. So that's there
are several different options that we would have to investigate.
Okay. The other question I have, which is part of the same thing, is if you're doing demolition, are you going to adhere to what was discussed about 10 years ago in terms of the 5-step process, where demolition would ultimately result in a green space?
Like I said, everything's on the table. I'm not precluding anything.
What I'm getting at, it's not going to be rubble. If it's demolished, it's not going to be rubble.
Well, no, you have to have, as I said in my opening comments, you have to have a purpose, right? The purpose has to be determined once you demolish, right? If you demolish the building, what's going to be left? A hole in the ground, or a new site, or a park, or a new structure?
Well,
I have no idea at this
I'll
time.
be happy to email you a little more specifically. What I'm referring to is what I thought was a protocol that the village had about 10 years ago, which says that at the end of the demolition, it's going to be landscaped and it's going to be green space. Now, what
Steve,
happens
I can't
after
go
that
back
is
10
another
years.
story.
I was not a member of the board in 10 years. I was not involved in St. Paul's 10 years ago. This is a new day, right? This is a new day. We're starting fresh. We have members of the committee that are focused on trying to figure out what the solution is for the village. That's why we're having this meeting today, and I'm very happy to see everybody's here tonight. I'm really happy about this.
Okay,
right?
I just don't want to see the demolition option saying it's going to be a bunch of rubble.
No. Well, Steve, like I said, we're not taking anything off the table at this point. Demolition could be type A, type B, type C. There's different types of demolition.
Okay.
We will investigate all of them.
Okay, thank you.